Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to cross the Øresund once again, and we're going to go back to Copenhagen in Denmark and revisit one of the famous Danish gypsy breweries. Although these days they're not so much of a gypsy brewery anymore, but they are still producing some really pretty damn good beers. And if memory serves me correctly, this is going to be the very first sour beer that I've tried from these guys, despite having reviewed a good number of things from them before. For this one then, we are going to return to Torøl, and we've got another beer from their very new and shiny facility out at Svinninge, the Torøl city. So this particular beer is called Atomic Dog. It comes in at 5% ABV, and this one is being described as a blueberry and red grape sour. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. We got this beer here in Sweden as part of the Lokal och Småskaligt assortiment in Systembolaget on the 1st of October 2020. So yeah, I have to say, very curious to see how this one turns out. This beer was released along with the Extreme Measures, which was a triple IPA, and that thing was an absolute monster from memory. So yeah, we've got something almost the other end of the spectrum actually, a low alcohol fruity sour. So I'm really curious to see what this one has in store for us. As I've told you before, Torøl were one of my favourite Danish craft breweries back in the day. They're still producing some really awesome beers, and they're doing some really interesting stuff at their new facility out in Svinninge, which is almost right in the middle of Sjaelland, the island upon which Copenhagen sits in eastern Denmark. But yeah, as I say, curious to see how this one turns out. Always nice to review new beer from Torøl, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see how we get on then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Torøl before, and you will no doubt see more from these guys in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Danish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to very regularly because I am so close to Denmark. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Torøl then, on to my brewery notes. So Torøl, as I've told you many a time before, was founded by Tobias Emil Jensen and Tore Gainter, who were actually students of Mikael Bjergsø, who once upon a time was a physics and maths teacher, but these days he is of course the big boss of Mikaeler. But originally they brewed with their teacher in the school kitchens back in 2005, and they continued to homebrew until about 2010 when they founded Torøl, which of course in Danish means two beers. But when Mikael heard that his former students were still brewing, he insisted that they do a collaboration brew together, and this became the first Torøl commercial beer, a double IPA. I don't know if they still brew that one, but that is one that I would absolutely love to try actually, the very first double IPA that these guys did. But they very quickly built a strong reputation for themselves, and with the help of Mikaeler and Evil Twin, they managed to get their beers distributed worldwide from very early on. As is the case with Mikaeler though, these guys were originally a gypsy brewery, so they didn't have their own equipment and they used spare capacity at other large breweries. In Nørrebro in Copenhagen, they've got their collaborative beer bar with Mikaeler, which is called Mikaeler and Friends. That was their home base for a very long time, and this bar has an exclusive bottle shop where you can get lots of different Torøl things that you're not going to find in other places, and they've also got 40 tap beers there as well. I do need to go and visit that at some point. That's one of the places in Copenhagen that I have never been to, so I think an out and about video there is something that needs to be done. I need to film a little bit more in Copenhagen actually, because yeah, it's just something I've never got around to. But these days they also have the Bruce Brew Pub in Copenhagen, which opened back in 2016, and this is a partnership with Christian Gadiant, and there's also now a second Bruce bar in Oslo as well. These both operate as basically kind of independent entities. They're kind of left to get on with it and brew whatever kind of beers they want and things like that. But I do hope that now that they've got this big facility in Svinninge, that they brew a few of the Bruce beers and get them actually out there in cans and stuff like that. That would be very nice. But Bruce, I think these two places are really kind of treated as brew pubs rather than anything else. A little bit like War Pigs, I guess you could say, but War Pigs are canning their beers. But they're co-owners as well in the various different Mikaeler and Friends venues, which now includes a bar in Reykjavik and also a bottle shop in Turvehallen in Copenhagen as well, which you'll find Turvehallen is that little kind of market thing that looks kind of like the Louvre with the glass kind of fronts and stuff on it, but they also own the Kulship bar and Micropolis bars in Copenhagen as well, which I do need to check out from what I understand. As of 2019 though, they do have their new production facility in Svinninge in Sjaelland, which has a 150,000 square metre floor space. This is a former fruit packing factory from what I understand, but they've been planning to have a clean side of the brewery, which has got a large German Braukorn brew kit, and this side is run by Tim, and there's also the sour side of the brewery, which has different fodders and a coolship and things like that for producing all these different sour beers, and this side of the brewery is run by Nathan Borg, and there's a lot of space there as well for barrel aging, so you're going to see a lot of very, very interesting stuff coming out of the Toyol City over the next little while. But they released the first beers from Toyol City in March of 2020, and as of November 2020, when I'm producing this review for you, these guys have produced around 460 different kinds of beer in total. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Toyol for the moment. One of the things that I would love to do is get these guys on the channel for a Meet the Brewery segment. I'd absolutely love to film an interview with Tobias and Tori. That's something that we really, really need to get done. But yeah, as I say, one of the next things I really want to do is film an out and about video at Bruce and do a few different tastings and stuff like that. There's they've got some really interesting beers there, and I think I've only been there maybe once or twice actually. But Bruce is pretty damn awesome, of course. But yeah, as I say, that's all I can tell you about Toyol for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's leave it for that and have a taste of this beer then. So just to let you have a little look at the artwork on this one, you can see it's a little bit like an Excel sheet that's got lots of different colours and stuff on it. I'm not sure exactly what this is supposed to symbolise, but yeah, not sure why it's done like that, but it says a Bow Wow Wow blend of blueberry and red grape making one fresh and fruity sour. As I told you at the start of the video, this one is 5% ABV, 440ml can. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I think I paid 50 Swedish for this one, which is pretty good for a 440 of a sour beer actually, because sour beers tend to be a little bit more expensive. So I think in Denmark, I think I actually paid less for this beer in Sweden than you would in Denmark. The bottle shop prices in Denmark are a little bit a bit higher than Sweden, sorry, but quite a bit of that is due to the fact that the Danish kroner varies between being 30 and 40% stronger than the Swedish kroner. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I might shift and work in Copenhagen for after the summer. But we'll see about that. Most of it's already in the glass anyway, let's just get it in. There we go. Yeah, so yeah, good to know that this glass can actually hold 440ml of beer. I don't think I've ever filled the can up straight away like that before. But yeah, it certainly looks very nice. Does it say whether this one, what the ingredients to this is? It says that it contains wheat and oats in it, so maybe this will be a little bit like a Berliner Weisse, but from what I understand, it is supposed to just be a fruity sour, but we'll see how we get on with this. So yeah, as you can see, this one has poured a lovely, almost like burgundy red wine kind of colour. You could see there was a bit of between a half and a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of lovely pinky purple kind of head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, quite a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but you know, overall it does look pretty damn nice actually. I like how this one appears. It certainly looks very, very inviting, but I have to admit I'm regretting a bit filling the glass up that much, because that's not going to do so well for the aroma part of the video, but we'll be gentle with it. We will be gentle with it. But yeah, in terms of a blueberry and red grape sour, it is kind of what you'd expect. You would expect it to be this very dark kind of burgundy type colour, a little bit darker than my hoodie that I've got. Of course, this is one that I got from Japan. It's got a lovely nice big kind of warm fluffy thing inside. Absolutely love this one. But yeah, let's have a look at the aroma of this one then and just see how we get on. That smells very, very nice, I have to say. It actually smells, the aroma of this really reminds me of you know, when you smell diluting juice, you get that kind of syrupy stuff. I forget what the Swedish one's called, but back home in Scotland it's always diluting juice. You know, it really reminds me of the apple and blackcurrant diluting juice that my mum always used to get for us. It really reminds me just of the concentrate of that. But yeah, the aroma of this one is absolutely lovely. You've got a big kind of juiciness to it. You get the grapes out of this right away. It reminds me of some of these grape juices that I've had over in Japan. The Japanese grapes, they're a little bit more acidic, I think, than some of the ones that you'll find over in Europe. Huge fan of grape juice, and that was, you know, they've got some blends of grape juice over there, white grapes, red grapes, purple grapes, and then you get all three of them blended together in some different juices over there. I drink a ridiculous amount of grape juice when I'm in Japan, and it's probably kind of overdoing it. It definitely is overdoing it when I'm over there. I like the Japanese milk, especially the Hokkaido milk, and the grape juice, and I pretty much drink nothing else. But yeah, the aroma of this is lovely, I have to say. The red grapes for me just jump straight out. I think the blueberries really take a bit of a back seat in this one, but that might just be because the grapes are so forward in this. It's got a lovely juiciness to it, this beer. You can smell a little bit of oaty creaminess out of this. Yeah, you can smell a little bit of oaty creaminess kind of underneath there. There is a wee bit of a kind of white bready thing from the wheat, and even if we sugar it up a little bit, and I'm having to be careful with it, like I said, but yeah, you do get a little, as I say, it's a kind of white bready base. There's a bit of that oaty creaminess in there. You maybe can get a little bit of a green, a kind of green grassy kind of note out of this, but really it's a big grapey, juicy quality that comes out of this one. It really does smell like, you know, concentrate that you use for diluting juice, these kind of syrupy things that you get here in Scandinavia, and of course in Scotland it's in the bottles, the diluting juice bottles that you stick the water in. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this is absolutely lovely, I have to say. I really like how this goes together. It's a very simple aroma, I think. I think the blueberries, sorry, not the blackberries, I think the blueberries take a little bit of a back seat in this one, and it's all about the red grapes, because usually blueberry would give you a little bit of tartness, and there is a little bit of that in here, but I think the juiciness of the grapes is just kind of overpowering that. So yeah, very simple aroma for me. Nice bit of oaty creaminess in there, although not too prominent. Little bit of slightly wheaty white bread, some nice grassiness, and you've got that big juicy red grapey character that just dominates the aroma. These little fruit flies, I don't know why we're getting these at the moment, because it's getting into winter again, but yeah, the aroma, as I say, very juicy, very juicy grapey note. This one for me, it just hits the spot. I love grape juice, absolutely love it. So take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of this one. You're not going to need too long with this, because it is very much a straight shooter, this beer, in terms of its aroma. But let's have a taste of this now and see how we get on. This one is the Atomic Dog Blueberry and Red Grape Sour from Toel, a famous Danish gypsy brewery, although now based in Svinninge in the centre of Sjaelland over in Denmark. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange Skål, my first sour beer from these guys. Cheers. Ooh, that is nice. It does have a wee bit of tartness when you take it in, but it's certainly it really is just one of these big kind of creamy sort of fruity beers, actually. This is really quite different from other sours that I've had before. It's got a lot of Berliner Weisse character to it in a lot of ways, but then it's just a little bit lighter and wetter almost. This is a really interesting one, actually. Yeah, I mean, with this beer, I'm going to say straight away, I really like this one. And in some ways it's always a little bit confusing, because it's not like any other sour that I can think to compare it to. It really drinks just like a very thick, kind of grape juice. It's not quite a Berliner Weisse, but it's not a million miles away from being a Berliner Weisse. You know, if you compare this, the closest things to compare this to, I could think, would be, you know, some of the Duck Pond beers that I've had recently, the Morgendagens, things like that. It is kind of along the same lines as those, but it's really very nice. It's not the most sour of sour beers that I've had before, but I certainly like this. I'm going to say thumbs up to Toel for this one. This is quite different. I don't know if this is them trying to do just something a little bit different and making their own stamp on the sour beer category, but I think this is really damn good. So, you know, thumbs up to Toel once again. They've pulled off an awesome beer here, I think. But yeah, it is really just like a very, very thick grape juice. And as I've said to you in some of these sour reviews before, these beers, I don't find them to be the most complex of things, but if they're done well, they don't need to be. This is a very, very straight shooting beer, much as I've said with some of the beers such as you know, the things from Elm 11 these days that we're getting in Malmö. They're doing some awesome, awesome Berliner Weisses. The you know, the Mariendagens, the Duck Ponds, these kind of breweries. There's some really, really good fruity sour beers out there, and this is another very, very good one. This is certainly very different to the some of the beers that I've had from Toll before. Probably the closest beer that I've had to this would be from Toll would be the Drottningen Sylt that came out, and that was like a fruit IPA. It was supposed to be a fruit IPA, but it was nowhere near as good as this. We'll say that. It wasn't one of the better beers I've had from Toll. I would definitely say that about it. It was nowhere near as kind of straight shooting and refined as this one seems to be, and that's probably the closest thing I've had to this kind of beer from them so far. But this one really is up there with the Duck Ponds, the Morgendagens, and the Elm 11s and stuff for me. I really like what they've done with this, so I look forward to more things like this actually. But as I said to you, I'm a sucker for grapes. I love grapes, so this is one that really just kind of strikes a chord with me. So well done. I need to try some of the other ones maybe to give you potentially a less biased review, but Toll have done a solid with this. And like I say, this is a very straight shooting beer. It's just very well crafted, and sometimes that's the way you need to go. So thumbs up to Toll for this. Love it. So yeah, straight away with this beer then, you get that nice kind of white bready quality. That blankets the middle of your tongue, but you can definitely feel in the middle third of your palate that big oaty smoothness there. I think on the back third of the palate you get some of the nice kind of wheaty smoothness out of the beer. There is maybe a tiny, tiny little touch of a wheaty bitiness at the back, on the back third of the tongue, but I would say that overall it's the oaty smoothness there that sits there in the very, very middle of the palate. You might get small hints of like a slightly butter candy, Werther's Original type thing as the flavour progresses in this, but yeah, it's really just a big kind of creamy, oaty and kind of white bready, wheaty sort of thing that forms the malty backbone of this beer. This one, I'm not sure whether they would have added hops to this. It's quite a common thing actually in these sour beers to either not add hops or add old hops so that it doesn't distract from the kind of sour side of the beer. Does it say on the side whether they've put hops in this? No, it doesn't say. It just says Fede Vete Havre. So yeah, basically it's got a bit of barley malt in it, corn malt, and it's got it's basically wheat and oats essentially. That's what it has in it, along with a bit of regular barley malt. So yeah, that makes sense, to be honest with you. You don't get a lot of kind of floral aromatic things at the side, but I mean you might get just a teeny little bit of earthiness on the back corners of the palate, but then as you go round the front curve of the palate, for me there is just a little touch of a grassy ester underneath this one, but that might well be placebo effect because this is what we're used to getting from all these different beers. But the fruity side of this beer, again, very straight shooting and lovely, to be honest. But yeah, the fruits are lovely and big and oily, and it suits the beer. For me at least, I think the grapes are overpowering the blueberries in this one, but I've got a feeling that it's the blueberry that's giving you the tartness from the beer. Red grapes, for me, I've never found grapes to be overly tart. I think it is the blueberries that are giving you the tartness in this beer. So yeah, you can feel the blueberries. It's almost like on the very front tip of your tongue, that front third of your tongue, you can feel the sort of more oily blueberry flavour just kind of sitting in there, and you'll feel the tartness come in just behind the very front tip of your tongue as you go in with that. But then the juicy grapey notes that come out after that are really nice, and they just sit there. It's the grapes that really dominate this one for me actually. It might well just be the fact that you don't get all that many grape sours. Blueberry is quite common in sour beers these days. So it might well just be that almost the novelty of the grape beer is making my kind of mind focus on that a little bit more. But yeah, the fruitiness out of this, oily blueberry notes underneath. The tartness I think comes from the blueberry, but the big juicy notes that you get, they spread all the way around the sides of the tongue, further towards the back, and that's those red grapes ad nauseum, you know. The red grapes for me really dominate this one. I don't think there's too much else to say about the flavour of this one, to be honest with you. It's a very, very straight shooting beer, and I think that's one of the things that makes it as good as it is. So yeah, I think we can leave the tasting section at that. In terms of the mouthfeel, yeah, it's a lovely big oily thing, this. It's got a bit of creaminess, I have to say, to the malt base, and you notice that as the flavour progresses you can feel the centre of your palate just getting slightly creamier and creamier. But really, it's a big, big oily and quite juicy beer, this, at the same time. The way everything goes together in this is spot on. I think they've produced this one really, really nicely. You do get a bit of an element of juiciness to the fruity character the further you go in with this one, but like I say, you've got a bit of an oily quality to it, and the sourness in this beer is not puckering in the slightest, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's really nicely done. So I would say, overall, I would say, yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel, then we have to say, I think this might actually well be a full-bodied beer, lower end of full body. The carbonation is very smooth, big oily mouthfeel with a bit of creaminess in behind it. In terms of IBUs, it will have 1 or 2, but I think it's probably brewed to be 0 IBUs in the calculation. So yeah, somewhere between 0 and 5 IBUs to this beer. Malt base very smooth, slightly creamy, as I said, a little touch of sweetness to it. So smoothness from the oats and creaminess from the oats, a little bit of sweetness, then you've got that lovely big juicy and oily fruitiness and a little touch of a sharper sour in there. But yeah, it's a lovely, lovely beer, this one, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, the Atomic Dog Blueberry and Red Grape Sour. For me it really leans towards the red grapey side of things, and the blueberries just give it a bit more kind of depth in the fruitiness, but it's a lovely, lovely beer, and I certainly look forward to seeing what else Toil are going to offer up from the sour side of the brewery. Nathan Borg, I think, is very highly regarded, so I think he will have some interesting things to come. But yeah, I want to try something that's slightly different next time, because, as I say, I'm a sucker for grapes, and that's probably why this one has resonated with me so much. But yeah, awesome to try my first sour beer from Toil, and I have to say, very impressed with this one. Very much a straight shooter, and I would recommend you try it, particularly if you like the Duck Ponds, the Moriandagans, the Wizards, the Elma Livens and stuff like this. It really is quite nice in that sense. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Toil. We will return to these guys, as I said, but in the meantime, thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Toil, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Atomic Dog, our blueberry and red grape sour, coming in at 5% ABV from Toil in Svinninge on Sjaelland in Denmark. Slange, skull, cheers, and thanks for watching.